Hi, Brandon Walker, more Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country here in the SEC Country studio. Coming to you on a pretty dismal-looking Monday morning outside the SEC Country studios here in Dunwoody. Good weekend for Mississippi State, I'd say. Mississippi State women's basketball with a huge win at Tennessee. Not just huge because of the fact they beat number 6, although that number is going to drop. Just huge in the fact that they went to Tennessee and won by 19 points. A very, very impressive win. Definitely a win that shows you where the power lies in the Southeastern Conference, and that is right now in Starkville, Mississippi. Huge game coming up a couple of weeks from now, a couple of weeks from today, I think, February 5th. State will play South Carolina at home. Then you got Missouri at some point. So big games for the women's basketball team. They passed the first test with flying colors. They now have a road win over number 6 by 19. They have a win over Oregon, who's still in the top 10, maybe even top 5. So everything going great for the women's basketball team. They are the shining light of the university right now. Baseball also doing well, but the women's basketball team is the best thing on campus right now and has been for a couple of years. Let's see who we got here. Good number so far. 95 people already. Hello, Tampa, Florida. Hello, Ginger Tuck. Hello, Point City, Debbie Fowler-Henshaw, who was my high school guidance counselor, and she can tell you that as my high school guidance counselor, she never would have foreseen this day coming. Seriously, when I went to take the test of what you could be in the future, my high school guidance counselor said you could be a high school student. That's what she thought I would be in the future because I was never going to get out. Eventually I did, though. Flowwood, hello. Amy Hall says, love our ladies. Hail State. Hail State from Gulfport. There's another Point City. 2 Point Cities so far this morning. Lafayette County, Meridian, Crystal White. I drove through Meridian yesterday and Saturday. Drove in, drove out. Very, very easy. Nobody saw this day coming. Brandon, what's this day? Oh, I see, Tim Doss. You're making a joke. Okay, that's fine. Hello, Justin Tidwell. Jay Hammers, I'll update that as soon as we get a little bit more people in here so I can just say it at once. West Union, Ohio, hello. Greenville, South Carolina, Harrison Golson, who I believe is from Point City. Pensacola, hello. A lot of Point City today. Pensacola's a beautiful area, too. Love Pensacola. Oh, my guidance counselor's claiming she knew I was brilliant. Okay, she's just... Let's get a lie detector test out. No, I'm just kidding. Hail State from Houston, Mississippi. Home of the Hilltoppers. Hail State from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Fishers, Indiana. I've never seen Woe Townsend in here before. Pecos, Texas. Robbie Stevens. Poplarville, Mississippi. Home of the Hornets and PRCC Wildcats. Actually, PRCC is in K-Rare, isn't it? Isn't that where PRCC is? Oh, Pearl River Community College. PRC is the high school, and PRCC is the community college. My bad. That's on me. Hail State from Columbus. Hail State from Magee. What about them girls? We'll definitely talk about that. Today we're going to have a guest on the show. We're going to have Brian Haydad of Bulldog Sports Radio on the show. Won't be for long because of certain weight limits we have around here. I shouldn't do that. But we'll have him on the show. We'll talk about which position group excites you the most for 2018 football? Which position group gets you most excited on the 2018 Mississippi State football team? I'll talk about the Mississippi State women's basketball team. I'll talk about basketball and today's top 5, the top 5 Super Bowls of my lifetime. Oh, yeah, we'll talk about Fletcher Cox. Always love talking Cox. Fletcher Cox in the Super Bowl, big-time representative for Mississippi State, and he'll be a big-time If you need a rooting interest, which, the other team's New England, so you shouldn't because they're awful and I hate them. But if you need one, Fletcher Cox should be what you're looking for. Howdy from Gulf Breeze. Hello, Bonnie. Hello, Jay Hammers. Hello, Brian Henry. Hello, Mac McBrayer from Saltillo. Guy Dawson just making another joke. Don't steal my material, all right? I'm a one-trick pony. I don't have that much. It is in K-Rare. K-Rare. I knew how to say K-Rare, too. I didn't say Carrier. I didn't say Carrier. I knew how to say K-Rare. Oh, there's another West Point High School class of 87. we have the best front seven in the SEC. That's very, very possible. Very possible. I definitely think we have the best defensive line in the SEC for 2018. I don't think that's a stretch. Hello, Steve from Carthage. All right, so we'll have Hey Dad on first. We'll talk about which position group gets it. We'll talk about which position.
You all right out there?
I'm all right.
What's going on?
Can I just plug myself in and restart? Okay. We will talk about which position group gets you the most excited in 2018.
Good job. There you go. He's back.
Thank you. Mine will be running back. I'm just going to go ahead and spoil the surprise. Mine will be running back. But I think defensive line is probably the best group on the team, so that's an easy answer too. And we'll see what Brian Haydad's answer is when we have him on the show. Because I saw him this weekend, and he begged me to be on my show because he's apparently wanting to be on a show that people listen to and watch, so he can be here. I will allow him to do that. He also, have you ever heard his Brandon Walker impression, Terp?
No, I haven't.
He promises he's going to do his Brandon Walker impression. He's going to do it, yeah.
Yes.
He actually tweeted out if he gets 250,000 retweets, he'll do the whole interview in my voice, but he's got 11 retweets so far.
A lot of retweets to ask for.
That is a lot. That's a high goal. All right, Steve C. Careful, Steve. Calm it down. So last week I told you about Cesar Perez, who works with us here as a graphic designer. He did this graphic behind me. And he had a car wreck a couple of Fridays ago. He was in a coma for most of last week. He did wake up towards the end of the week. He is awake. He's alert. He can't talk, but he's in the hospital, and he's still going through tough times, really tough times. And I visited him yesterday. They are optimistic he's going to make a recovery, and they're optimistic he's going to come out of the woods. He's still in pretty bad shape, but signs are encouraging. There's a GoFundMe for him that his family started. Now, I'm not going to push it on anybody. I'm not going to push that on anybody. But if you want to message this show, this Facebook account, and ask me for it, I will give you the link if you would like to do that. So I'll leave it at that. But everything seems to be going pretty well, considering where he was last week. He is awake, and things are going okay. Now, Gina Stedman Clarity says, continue prayers for Cesar. Yes, please. So I guess that's a very depressing way to start off the show, but he is doing better, and that's our buddy, that's our guy. So yeah, let's transition back into Mississippi State stuff. Again, we'll talk about women's basketball, men's basketball. Which position group gets you most excited on the football team for 2018? My top 5 Super Bowls of my lifetime, and we'll have Brian Haydad on the show to discuss some Mississippi State stuff. Oh, also Fletcher Cox in the Super Bowl. Forgot to talk about Cox. Always need to have Cox on the brain. So, let's go ahead and get started, Terp.
The More Cowbell Show, brought to you by SEC Country. And now, your host of the More Cowbell Show, Brandon Walker.
That's me, More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country, off to a running start here in the SEC Country studios. I've got Terp on the producing side. I've got Land Shark also getting a paycheck for some unknown reason. And we are here on a Monday morning in beautiful Dunwoody, Georgia. It is nice and gray outside. Going to rain later, but I don't care. We're in here. The lights are way too bright, and I'm talking to my Facebook Live audience. I'm talking to my podcast audience. Today we're going to talk about Mississippi State's women's basketball team and the 800-pound juggernaut they have turned into. They walk into Knoxville, Tennessee, and treat the Tennessee Volunteers, ranked number 6 in the country, like redheaded stepchildren and just beat them to sleep. A 19-point victory. Impressive. We'll talk about men's basketball. Not really there. Not on that level, but still a positive performance over the weekend, I thought. Fletcher Cox is in the Super Bowl. If you need a rooting interest, there it is. He's Mississippi State's best representative in the NFL, and now he has a chance to go on his biggest stage yet and play for a Super Bowl championship. My today's top 5 will be top 5 Super Bowls in my lifetime. But first, we're going to talk about football. The 2018 football team has a lot of excitement around it, a lot of talent, maybe the deepest, most talented team we've had in a long, long time here. And to talk about this, I'm reaching out to an expert. Well, that's really stretching it. I'm reaching out to someone who also talks about this for a living. His name is Brian Haydad of Bulldog Sports Radio. Brian, thank you for being on my show.
What a pleasure to be on it.
Are you serious? That's a pleasure because you did beg me to be on the show. Can we just be honest about that?
Beg is a strong word. Beg is strong.
Did you text me this morning and ask to be on my show? No. What did you do?
You asked me a question.
Uh-huh.
I gave you an answer, and I said, I could just come on the show, but no, just go ahead and steal my list. That's fine.
I see. So, hello, Brian Haydad. Good to have you on the show. Before we get started and get into the football topic, I have told my producer Terp that you do a Brandon Walker impression, and he is more than excited to hear it. So please, I'm going to ask you a question, and you just answer it, okay?
I didn't get my 250,000 retweets. Are we sure we want to do this?
Yeah, well, you said you were going to do the whole interview. You can still give us a little bit.
All right, I'll give you a snippet, sure.
So
you're going to ask a question, and I'll go. Okay.
I'm going to ask you a question. So first of all, Brian, thank you for being here. We're going to talk about football today. No, I'm not going to ask a football question. Brian, how happy are you to be on my show?
Well, Brandon, it's great to be on More Cowbell here on SEC Country. It's a great show. It's run by a great person, very handsome. His wife loves him. He's got great children. I feel very good.
All right, that's not bad. That's not bad. Now let's transition. Let's transition to football. So I look at the football season. I look at the 2018 football season, and I see a team that is loaded. I see a team that is deep, that is talented across the board. But if I wanted to talk about the position group that excites me the most, I think it comes down to 4 positions. I think it comes down to quarterback, running back, offensive line, or defensive line. Those are my 4. Now, do you have any before we get into what's your most exciting, do you have any that you think should have made that list?
I would say wide receiver because there's a lot of unknown, and that can be exciting because you've got 3 big-time players coming in with Devontae Jason, Stephen Guidry, Malik Heath. You bring back some guys in Reggie Todd and Jamal Couch who physically look the part, and they could be poised to take a little bit bigger leap. I think the Moorhead offense will be a little bit more pass-happy than was the Mullen offense. And I'm also excited to see your boy, Point City, Marcus Murphy, how much can he make an impact on offense at all? I have been banging the drum for him to play offense almost exclusively. It looks like he's going to get his first look at cornerback, but he's an exciting playmaker. I would love to see him more on offense. But wide receiver, you could throw it in there, but I think you've got the right 4.
Yeah, so I went quarterback because you have 2 guys I think could be the starter, and you'd feel good about them. One is a guy who's proven it. The other is a guy who shows that he has shown star potential. Running back, you've got a guy who rushed for 1,200 yards this year, and you're more excited about his backup, Kylan Hill. You're more excited about his ability. That speaks to how good both of those guys are. Offensive line, you have 4 starters back, and a 5th guy that played a ton, I think started at least 4 games for Mississippi State, from an offensive line that was probably the biggest surprise in the entire SEC this year. And then defensive line is probably the most talented position on the field. You have what may be the best individual player in the SEC in 2018 in Jeffrey Simmons. You have one of the best pass rushers in the SEC who led the SEC in sacks, Montez Sweat. You have a JUCO guy that has just as much potential as Sweat, and that's not even talking about guys like Fletcher Adams, like Marquise Spencer. It's just defensive line is ridiculously stacked. But if you look at that list, you know what? I'm going to let you go first. Brian, which position group excites you the most on this team?
Well, I believe in the SEC, you have to run the ball successfully to be good on offense. So I'm going to say running back, to be honest with you. I love Harris Williams.
Brian.
Yes.
I texted you this morning, okay?
Yeah.
And I said, here's the topics. You can pick your position group. I'm going to take running back. You take one of the others.
I didn't. No, you did not tell me that.
I told you
that. That did not occur. No, you just said pick a position group. You did not have a caveat.
All right, continue. I'll change. Go ahead. But
as excited as I am for the running backs, I have to go defensive line, I guess.
No, I want you to go running backs.
You want me to go running backs?
Yeah.
All right. The reason I'm excited about running backs, I can put it in 2 words, is Saquon Barkley. I saw what Joe Moorhead and his offense was able to do with Barkley. Barkley's an outstanding talent, no question about that. But Moorhead's offense continually put him in position to make big plays. And I think that's going to be sort of similar for Mississippi State. Now, I don't think that Harris Williams is a great big play back, but he's not this plodding workhorse that everybody has labeled him as. He can break some big plays. I don't know if he can be 70, 80-yard runs, but he's capable of breaking off 30, 40, 50-yard runs at times. And I think that, with the upgrade in the passing game that Mississippi State is bound to have, State was very effective at running the ball this past season, despite being probably the worst passing team in the SEC. You go back and you look at receiving numbers. State's leading receiver on the season last year was Jesse Jackson, 276 yards on the season. That's a good game for some people. I think State will be much better passing the ball, and that's going to open up big things for Harris Williams. And then for Kylan Hill, he's really the Barkley of this discussion. I think he's very talented. I'm looking forward to seeing him get more carries. I think he'll have a little bit more consistency in the way carries are doled out. Last year you had, Williams would get a few carries, and then it was Kylan Hill's series. And sometimes they would just run the same play. You and I were at the Georgia game, where when Kylan Hill came in, they basically went under center and ran a halfback counter 3 plays in a row. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I think you'll have, Williams getting the bulk of the carries. Hill is the next guy. He'll be the big play guy. I like Nick Gibson, don't get me wrong. I think he can be a talented back. He had some fumble issues this past year. But it's really going to be the Williams and Hill show. That's 2 really talented backs. I think that's a better duo than Perkins and Ballard were. We'll have to see from a production standpoint, can they be like a Davis and Bowie kind of combination? But I think the potential is there. And I think that Moorhead's offense works through its running backs, and I expect to see them have big years. I think Harris Williams will have more yards next year than he had this year. I think Kylan Hill will probably double his yardage. He was around, I think, close to 300. I would put him probably closer to 500, 600 in 2018. And I think that the running game will carry the MSU offense, especially early in the season while the the new receivers, get their legs underneath them, and by the end of the year, they will once again be one of the best running teams in the SEC.
Couple of Facebook Live comments. Kirk Misso says this is the most disorganized interview ever. You know what, Kirk? That's my fault. That's on me. Sorry about that, Kirk. Anyway, we'll work on it. Somebody else, Steve Brown, says Hill is the best running back. Hill's not the best running back on the team.
He's not the best running back.
Harris Williams is the best running back, but that is what makes it so impressive, because Hill has the ability and the potential to be one of the best running backs we've ever had. That's how good he can be in the next 3 years, but Harris Williams is the best right now. You have 2 very good backs. You have a guy who is developed and mature and ready in Harris Williams, and you have another guy whose potential is even greater than that. And I think that 1-2 punch makes running back very, very exciting for Mississippi State.
You have the same situation at quarterback, basically, that you have at running back. You have Fitzgerald and Keaton. You have Fitzgerald's the guy, but Keaton is the next guy. And everybody's just excited to see the next guy. And it's the same thing with Williams and Hill. Everybody's excited to see Hill. But it's still Harris Williams' time. He's still a really good running back, and he's going to lead this team in carries in 2018.
I think people are still burned from Brandon Holloway and Ashton Shumpert playing so much when Harris was clearly the better player. So there's a lot of people that say, the running back that doesn't start is the better guy. Kylan Hill's not better than Harris Williams, but they're both very, very good. And I think senior Kylan Hill be better than senior Harris Williams? Probably. Yeah. But sophomore Kylan Hill is not better than senior Harris Williams. They're both good, and that's why I'm excited. But I got to go defensive line because, as I've already said, you tell me a better individual player in the SEC than Jeffrey Simmons in 2018, and I'll have a very good argument against you. What do you think? I mean, if you got Jeffrey Simmons, you've already got the building blocks of a great defensive line. You put Montez Sweat there, an all-SEC guy who decides to come back. Hey, you put Chauncey Rivers, who all accounts in fall practice was just as good as Montez Sweat. That's three guys, and I haven't even gotten to the depth. I think across the board, this might be the most talented defensive line in Mississippi State history.
Might be the best defensive line in the SEC next year.
And that's an SEC that has Alabama, Auburn, Georgia.
Has LSU, has Florida, Georgia, Auburn, everybody else.
Right.
Alabama loses some players. They always do. But, I mean, you're returning two first-team All-SEC guys in Simmons and Sweat. Rivers, from all accounts, was scheduled to start. If they had released a real depth chart the week of the Charleston Southern game before his academic eligibility was decided, he would have been the starting defensive end. So he was on schedule to do that. Now he had a redshirt year. I think he's very hungry to prove himself. Corey Thomas is a guy going to a four-man front now, so I assume Simmons and Corey Thomas will be your inside guy. He's just very, very solid. Not spectacular, but MSU's defensive line last year, when he was injured in the middle of the season, you noticed Corey Thomas's absence. So I think he's a big-time player. You mentioned Marquise Spencer and Fletcher Adams. I like both of those guys. I like Braxton Hoyette. I like Trey Brown. And I'm excited to see what Aaron Odom does coming off a redshirt this year. He's a guy that they talked about maybe playing as a true freshman, but now he's going to be a redshirt freshman. Another guy who can get after the quarterback. I mean, you've got 8 or 9 guys that you feel good about. That's the kind of depth you don't normally have at Mississippi State along either one of the fronts there. And so that's a huge statement for MSU.
Well,
you win games up front, and that's what MSU is going to be able to do defensively this year.
You have 8 or 9 guys that are going to be good. Then you have 2 or 3 guys that are going to be great, and then you have Simmons, who is elite. I mean, he's not good. He's not great. He is probably going to be one of the elite 5 defensive linemen in college football next year. He was close to that this year as a sophomore. So Simmons gives you an extra level of ability that even when State's had good offensive line or good defensive lines, I don't like. Fletcher Cox was very, very good in college. Jeffrey Simmons has been better than Fletcher Cox in college. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's been better than Chris Jones. He's been better than anybody we've had in the last couple of decades. I think it begins and ends up front with Jeffrey Simmons. However you want to describe this defensive line, it really comes from however you feel about Jeffrey Simmons.
If Simmons didn't have the off-the-field incident that happened to him prior to coming to Mississippi State, he would be almost a lock to be a top 10 NFL draft choice.
I think he's a lock. I think he's a lock anyway.
He's not a lock because it just depends on who's picking. Because there are some teams that will just not, they'll just pass on. But from a talent standpoint, he's going to be the best defensive lineman in college football next year. No question about it. And I do agree with you that he had the same amount of recruiting hype that Chris Jones did. I thought Chris Jones was a really, really good player for Mississippi State, but there was never a time where I was like, gosh, Chris Jones is just dominant. And I said that a lot about Jeffrey Simmons last year. You just watch him play. He would completely alter teams' game plans because they couldn't block him. You never got that with Jones. You never really got it with Fletcher Cox until towards the end of his junior year. Yeah, I mean, he is a game changer for Mississippi State. And then Sweat on the other side. I love Montez Sweat. I love guys who just get after the quarterback. It's something State lacked, really, for a few years there. They just didn't have a guy that could go get a sack when you needed one. Montez Sweat is that guy. And then I'm very excited to see Chauncey Rivers. But all 3 of those guys, from what you can tell, we're talking about Rivers having not seen him play very much. But all 3 of those guys really have first-round potential for Mississippi State.
Yeah, I think so, too. And we haven't even talked about linebacker. Errol Thompson, Willie Gay.
Yeah.
Maybe Leo Lewis has a bounce-back year. I don't think he was bad this year, but he wasn't, he didn't
improve upon a good freshman year.
Correct. So you'll have him back for his 4th year in the program, his 3rd year on the field. So linebacker also. Let me go ahead and transition because I'm running over time here, so I'm going to keep you in for this next segment. Women's basketball. How impressive was that?
As I said on the B&B show today, they should be ranked the number 1 team in the nation. I think they're better than UConn. I think, I'm a guy who predicted them to win the national championship prior to the start of the season, and they have exceeded even my expectations of that team. They are completely dominant. They have a player who can step up at any time. McCowan, Vivian, any one of their starters. If I said, hey, Blair Schaefer went for 25 tonight, you can believe that.
Right.
Rashana Johnson went for 25 tonight. Okay, I can believe that. Vivian's is playing the best basketball of her career. You'll like my comparison for her. I keep saying she's more from Kobe into LeBron. She's gone from a person who got you 25 points on 28 shots to a person who can get you 25 points on 16 shots.
So she's gone from an average player to a great player. Well, that's.
No, even with that, not on the anniversary of the 81-point game. Don't do it.
Took 46 shots that night. Anyway, this team, this team, we circled this game at Tennessee as being the first real SEC test, and they passed it with flying colors. They not only walked into Knoxville and won, they walked into Knoxville and won by 19. They let Tennessee score 52 points.
Dominated the game.
They dominated the game, and this was supposed to be, outside of South Carolina, their chief competition for an SEC championship. February 5th against South Carolina at home is a huge game, and I mean, I'm not going to doubt this team, but it seems like the road to an SEC championship got a lot more clear yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Tennessee has 2 conference losses, but they don't play Mississippi State again. So in reality, State's 3 games up on them. South Carolina has 2 conference losses. They lost a couple games while Asia Wilson was out. If State can beat them, you've almost put it away at that point. The back end of the schedule after South Carolina is not very difficult. You play Kentucky twice. You play Florida. Texas A&M is a tough team, but State manhandled Oregon, and that's a team that beat Texas A&M twice. I mean, there's just no reason at this point. State's the favorite in every game they're going to play for the rest of the year, going probably until they meet up with UConn at some point.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. This team is. This team looks like, last year when they started 20-0, they lost to South Carolina on the road in a very, very close game that was poorly officiated. I mean, that was just a close game. But this year they got that game at home, and they can roll through that, hopefully, and they can roll in. And, if they lose 1 game in the regular season, if they lose 2 games, whatever. But I don't see anything this year that keeps me from thinking this is a Final Four team.
Tomorrow on Bulldog Sports Radio, on the show Always Sunny in Starkville, hosted by Justin Strawn from SB Nation, you will make the argument that this is the greatest Mississippi State team of all time in any sport.
Well, now let's pump the brakes a little bit.
I'm just telling you what the man is going to talk about.
Well, I think we should pump the brakes a little bit. I mean, it is January.
Better than 85 baseball, better than 96 basketball, better than last year's women's basketball team. This is the best team ever.
Nobody gets a trophy on January 21st or whatever.
I'm just telling you what that man is going to say.
All right.
You are welcome to listen and debate.
I'll look forward to not doing that. So I'll go ahead and drop you off, Brian. Listen, Bulldog Sports Radio. That's Brian's enterprise. It does pretty well, I think. He has a show on there called the B&B Show with Bob Carskadden and Brian Haydad. Comes on every day that I'm sure you listen to before you listen to this one. Always a pleasure to have you here, Brian. And when's the last time I saw you?
Gosh, it seems like so long ago, but it was Saturday.
It was. It was nice too, wasn't it?
It was nice.
All right, that's Brian Haydad.
The roll was our oyster.
We'll have you again very, very soon. Hopefully by the end of 2018. That's Brian Haydad, and I guess I'm leaving you now. Goodbye.
Thanks.
That was disorganized, Kirk Misso. I'm sorry. Brian Haydad got me off my game a little bit. I'm struggling out here. Men's basketball goes to Tuscaloosa. Plays Alabama this week. And it started off ugly. It was very ugly. But the team fought, and they battled, and they scratched, and they clawed, and they got it down. They tied the game late in the second half. They lost the game. Alabama's probably a tournament team. Alabama's a better team than Mississippi State. But I think you can come away with some positive signs. I think you can come away thinking, okay, I can live with this team. I can live with this team and the fight they showed against Alabama. I don't like losing. I never like losing. But I can live with it. At the end of the day, you can't be as upset at this loss as you could, say, the loss against Ole Miss, where it took Mississippi State just forgetting how to play basketball in the second half to lose that game. Or even the losses against, say, Florida, where they just showed no life at all. This loss, they showed life. They gave it a good shot. They lost. It's fine. The most valuable thing in this league this year is stealing road games. This league is very tightly bunched together. The best teams aren't that good. The worst teams aren't that bad. It's tightly bunched together. Florida's probably going to win the league. They're not that much. They lost at Ole Miss. They're not that good. But with that being said, the most valuable thing is to steal road games. Take care of your home games and steal road games. And State so far has lost a couple they could have won. They lost at Oxford. They should have won that. They lost at Alabama. They could have won that. Looking down the road, they got at Kentucky. That's going to be a loss. At A&M, that's not good. At Missouri, probably not great. South Carolina is playing better lately. They beat Kentucky at home. So I think you look at Vanderbilt and at LSU as State's best chances to go down there and win, to go on the road and win. at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's winning some home games. They beat Alabama at home, and they're beating some good teams at home. But they're the worst team in the SEC, and we beat them by 21 at our place. We could win that game, and it would be very valuable in the search for postseason basketball. LSU, hey, they won at A&M, but they also lost at home a couple times. I think they lost to Alabama at home. They're decent, but they have the ability to be terrible. And LSU in Baton Rouge is a winnable game for Mississippi State. Remaining home schedule is pretty friendly. Ole Miss, Missouri, South Carolina, Alabama, Georgia. I think State could win all those games. I don't think they will, but I think State could win all those games. They could beat Alabama at home. They could beat Ole Miss at home. They could beat Georgia at home. South Carolina. Missouri might be a little stretch, but we'll see. I think State could finish up the season decently strong in men's basketball. It's definitely something worth watching. My top five today's top five. The top five Super Bowls of my lifetime. The top five Super Bowls of my lifetime. Now, this is my lifetime, so something that happened in the 70s, I wasn't alive yet. I didn't see it. I didn't see it live. I needed to see this live to experience it, okay? I need to see it live to experience it, and these are the top five Super Bowls of my lifetime. This is not really in any order, but it's kind of chronological. The first one on my list, I'll call it number 5. Number 5, Super Bowl 20, Chicago Bears 46, New England Patriots 10. Well, that was a blowout. Why is that on my list? Because that's the first one I remember. This is the very first one I remember. I remember the 85 Bears going 15-1, beating everybody except for losing to the Miami Dolphins, and just dominating in the Super Bowl shuffle and William Refrigerator Perry, and it was just bigger than life. It was the first Super Bowl I ever remember. My first memory of every sporting event is around 1986. My first World Series I remember watching on TV. Actually, that's not true. 85 was my first World Series, Kansas City, St. Louis. I remember watching the 86 finals with the Lakers with the Celtics and the Rockets. My first football game at Mississippi State I ever remember, my dad and mom took me to Mississippi State to watch Mississippi State, Alabama in 1986. We were having a good year, and we lost 38-3, and that started a lifetime of disappointment. But anyway, that's my number 5. Number 4, Super Bowl 25, New York Giants 20, Buffalo 19. Scott Norwood misses a 47-yard field goal, and the Giants win that game. Giants with LT, great defenses, those great defenses. Carl Banks, just a huge game, great game. That was my number 4. Number 3, Super Bowl 34, Rams-Titans. Rams 23, Titans 16. The Titans got tackled at the 1-yard line to end it. That was very, very exciting. Terp, I have another reason that was exciting. I'll tell you that off the air. Number 2, Super Bowl XLIV. I just gave up on trying to figure out what the Roman numerals were. Super Bowl XLIV, Saints 31, Colts 17, and this is my favorite Super Bowl of all time. I did not I've never seen the Miami Dolphins, my team, win a Super Bowl. I haven't. It just hasn't happened in my lifetime. But I grew up in Mississippi. I know a lot of Saints fans. I grew up like you guys when you could only get one or two games on Sundays, and it would always be the Saints. So I was familiar with the Saints, and when they won it, even though I'm not a Saints fan, it made me feel good inside. So that was probably my favorite Super Bowl of all time. And my last one, Super Bowl XLII, Giants 17, Patriots 14, because it's always good to see Tom Brady lose. And I hope it happens in 2 weeks when Fletcher Cox plants him into the Minnesota ground. I really hope Fletcher Cox is able to have his crowning achievement in winning the Super Bowl. He has been one of the best players in the NFL for several years. He is state's best representative in the NFL. He is an absolute star, an all-pro, and he could be one of the reasons Philadelphia wins this if they win the Super Bowl. But Super Bowl XLII, Giants 17, Patriots 14. And I hate liking something that Eli Manning did, but it had the helmet catch, it had all that. But Fletcher Cox, go get that Super Bowl. If you're looking for a rooting interest in the Super Bowl, that's it. Root for Fletcher Cox. He's one of us. He's a Yazoo City guy. He is on the big stage, and hopefully he goes and gets it. All right, so that's today's show. We'll be back tomorrow where we'll talk more football, more basketball, and more Mississippi State sports. Until next time, my name is Brandon Walker. You've been watching or listening to More Cowbell. I do that every day now, don't I? You've been listening to More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country. right, let's see what everybody. Jason Neal Galt says, I cried when the Saints won. A lot of years of being awful erased. Yeah, that was. And I wasn't, again, I'm not a Saints fan. I can't say that I'm a Saints fan. I was definitely rooting hard for the Saints. Because anytime a Manning loses, that's a good day too. But when Tracy Porter intercepted that pass and I realized the Saints were going to win, because until that moment I hadn't even considered the Saints were going to win the Super Bowl. But when Tracy Porter returned that for a touchdown, it was like, this is happening. It was an incredible moment. Thomas Lenore says it's not going to happen. # Pats Nation. Well, Thomas Lenore is just a hater. That's what he is. Big State fan, Point City guy, but come on. Fletcher Cox, man. We got to root for Fletcher Cox. Fletcher has been one of the best players in the league for at least 5 or 6 years. And this is, again, his best shot at the big stage. So hopefully it goes well for him. Need Haydad more. He brought intelligence to the show. I think you mean cholesterol level. I wanted Saints to win this time. You know what? That game yesterday, the NFC title game, just needed the Saints really badly. That was an awful football game. The Saints should probably be in the Super Bowl. I really think the Saints should be in the Super Bowl. And the Saints against the Patriots would be a much, much, much better game. Be much more exciting. But they're not. They're not. The Saints and the Patriots are my 2 most disliked teams ever. Y'all want to talk about most disliked teams ever? I'm going to say Patriots are up there for me. I dislike the Steelers a little bit more, though. I hate the Steelers a little more. I hate the Steelers. I hate the Yankees. I hate the Lakers. Those are the teams I hate.
What's your favorite NFL team? Cowboys? Because of Dak?
I have literally in this show multiple times said who I'm a fan of.
Who is it? Oh, the Dolphins, right?
Yes.
Random.
How is that random? I've told you
have you
multiple
times. Miami?
Yes, I have.
You like it?
I do.
All right.
I heard that while he was at State, Fletcher Cox could do 25 chin-ups in a row at 300 pounds. How many can you do, Kirk Misso? Well, the joke's on you. I can't do any at 300 pounds because I'm not that big. How many can I do right now? Let's see, 25. Okay, so if you carry the 5, and then none. I can do none. Do 0 chin-ups. Did I tell you my dip story, Terp, at the gym?
Nope.
So I go to, Tyler Dragon out there, works out every day, like 7 hours a day. D1 athlete. So I go to work out, and he says, hey, come do some dips with me. So I'm like, oh, okay. When I dip, you dip, we dip. All right, we're going to dance. All right. So we go over this dip machine, which is just 2 bars, and he gets on there, and he does, he does about 30. And he says, all right, do 5. And I get on there, and I go, and that's it. That's the end. I did not come up out of it.
At least you tried.
I did not come out of it.
You'll get there.
And I didn't even know what to do. So I just dropped to my knees and crawled out of the thing. So chin-ups are probably going to go the exact same way. I would probably get to right here and then have no idea what to do. Most hated teams, Dolphins, Raiders, and Cowboys, says Kay Anderson. Even you still hate the Cowboys now? Look, I've hated the Cowboys all my life, but now I find myself rooting for them because of Dak Prescott. Jessica M. Bosley, I think it's in West Virginia, cannot stand the Patriots at all. Haydad did an awesome Shrek impersonation. He did, whatever. Well, I think we're at most hated teams now. I think that's the topic today. For Jeff Hart, it's Lakers, Saints, Cowboys, and Seahawks. Well, let me ask you a question. You guys that hate the Cowboys, you still hate the Cowboys even with Dak Prescott?
Yes.
Not you. You still hate the Cowboys? Because I hated the Cowboys my whole life, but as soon as Dak put that star on his head, I'm like, all right, let's go. Hated teams are the Pats and the Falcons from Jason Sherman. Tim Franks loves the Raiders and Steelers. Root for Dak, but hate the Cowboys, says Kay Anderson. How do you balance that? I don't know how you balance that. It's tough. I understand. I just threw my hatred away for the Cowboys. And if and when he leaves, retires, gets traded, whatever, I will resume hating the Cowboys. I root for Dak to have a great game, but Cowboys lose. Most hated teams, New York Giants and New York Mets. That's Jay Hammers. Hates the New York Giants.
Most loved teams right there.
I'm a Packers guy, Jeremiah Body. I used to not like the Cowboys, but do now because of Dak, says Jessica Elm Bosley. Bobby C does a better BW impersonation. I've never heard of Bob Garskadden's BW impression. I didn't know he had one. Maybe I should have him on the show to have him do the Brandon Walker impression. Yeah, all right, TC, I got you. Don't care that Dak is the QB, still hate the Cowboys. I go for the Cowboys now. I'm more of a players fan. When Peyton Manning retired, Dak came along to give me a new team, says Michael Clyburn. You know, in basketball, I'm a players guy, not a team guy.
Who are your players?
LeBron. I'm a LeBron fan.
Ew.
But I just never really stuck with one basketball team. It's always been with players.
So you follow LeBron? You big Cavs fan now?
I root for LeBron to win.
Who's going to win the finals this year?
For Warriors. No doubt.
I don't think so.
Who's going to beat the Warriors?
Celtics.
Nobody. Who?
Celtics. They're going to get a trade for Anthony Davis.
Well, they're going to trade for Jesus Shuttlesworth? There's nobody they can go get.
I don't think it's going to be Cavs Warriors this year.
Greatest Super Bowl, Bart Starr sneaked for a TD win in 15 below 0 against the Cowboys. That was not a Super Bowl. That was not a Super Bowl. I'm almost certain it wasn't. That was the NFL championship game before the Super Bowl existed. I'm a Warriors guy, says Jeremiah Body. Reg Callahan wants Dak to have a ring. I do too. I root for Dak. I root for Dak Prescott. But it is odd because when Fletcher Cox became an Eagle, I didn't start rooting for the Eagles. I don't root for the Lions because of Darius Slay. I guess it's just the quarterback thing. I guess it's just how much Dak meant to us. Because you don't see a lot of Darius Slay jerseys in Starkville. You don't see a lot of KJ Wright jerseys in Starkville, but you see a ton of Dak Prescott number 4 jerseys. Mac McBrayer says the best thing yet, Marino is the greatest quarterback of all time. Thank you, Mac. That's correct. That is correct. Ice Bowl was not the Super Bowl. Again, I got it handled, everybody. I got it handled. So, yeah, everybody's just telling me they're hated teams. And nobody said Ole Miss yet. I guess that goes without saying, right? We don't have to discuss that because we're all family here.
We're on pro teams. That's probably why. We're all talking about pro teams.
Yeah. Players that get paid to play football. That's Ole Miss, right? Players that get paid to play football.
I guess.
I've always loved the Cowboys and the Bulldogs, says Hayes Ezel. I haven't seen Hayes here before. Good to have you. Landshark, you got your home run signal ready? Getting ready? Okay. Later this week we'll have other guests. I think we'll have Steve Robertson back on to talk recruiting. State had a recruiting weekend this weekend. We'll go over that. Then I'll hopefully have Matt Wyatt on the show to talk some football. We'll have others. I saw Brian Haydad this weekend, and he begged me to be on the show. So I brought him on the show, and he did terribly, but it's fine. We'll get through it. St. Louis Cardinals. I hate the Cardinals. Did I not list the Cardinals on my hated teams? I hate the Cardinals.
No, you did not. Why do you hate the Cardinals?
You know why I hate the Cardinals? Because I hate fans that want to act like they're a class act. And they talk about the Cardinals way and how they got the best fans in baseball. No, they don't. They don't have the best fans in baseball. They have some of the worst fans in baseball. I hate the Cardinals. That whole fake facade of best whatever is nothing. I don't like the Cardinals. I don't like the Yankees either. I like the Broncos because Elway had a nice butt. I like the Packers because Favre is a Mississippi boy. Now I'm all Cowboys. Boy, Bonnie will tell you what she's thinking. Bonnie will tell you what she's thinking. She liked Elway because he had a nice butt. I don't know how to add to that. The Cards are the Ole Miss of Major League Baseball. That is an outstanding point. They do feel like the Ole Miss. They'll tell you how classy they are. They'll tell you how great they are. They'll tell you how wonderful their place is. And it's all just fake. It's all just BS. If I had two brothers and one was in hell and one was at Ole Miss, I would get the one out of Ole Miss first. Bobby Toomey. God bless you for your Cardinal hate. St. Louis is the Bama of Major League Baseball. Well, I don't think so. They act like Bama, but they don't win like Bama. I mean, they win. They don't win like Bama. Say the Yankees are the Bama of Major League Baseball.
Who's your baseball team? I don't remember.
Atlanta Braves.
Oh, that's too bad.
It is too bad. It really is. I did not when picking teams to live and die with my entire life, however it happened, I didn't do all that well.
What are the other two?
Well, again, I'm a players guy in NBA.
That's right.
Dolphins is the most depressing team you can
That's
follow
right.
in any team sport.
They had a good stretch back in the day.
Before I was born, yeah.
Okay.
Braves,
Terrible.
and then the only team I have tattooed on my body is Mississippi State. So
You watch hockey?
I don't watch hockey.
If you had to pick hockey, what would it be?
I'm from West Point, Mississippi. Why would I pick a hockey team?
I'm from Virginia. I have a hockey.
When did you become from Virginia?
Well, I was always born
Thought you
there.
were from here.
No, I was born in Virginia.
Braves will be back 2021 World Series champs.
0% chance.
Second most championships in MLB history. Yeah, but second most by a long. I think they have 11. And the Yankees have 27. Where's Freeze going now? Petrino? Nobody's going to hire Freeze. I don't think anybody's going to hire Freeze. I think some people can talk to him, but as soon as the university higher-ups and the SEC gets wind of them talking to him, they're going to put the kibosh on it. I don't think anybody's going to hire Freeze. I'm not sure everything about Freeze has come out yet. Just put it like that. I'm not sure we're finished with the Hugh Freeze story of everything coming out. So I don't think anybody's going to hire him. Hello, Lavoric Addison. What Super Bowl game was it in the Superdome when the lights went off? That was Ravens and 49ers a couple of years ago. Ravens won 31-27, I think. I think that's right. Yankees will have 28 after this year. No, they won't. They will not. Unless Stanton can pitch, and I don't think he can. As much as you say that, I think Alabama might hire him. If Alabama were going to hire him, they would have hired him already. If Alabama were going to hire him, they wouldn't wait a week for all this to build up. They would just hire him. As an offensive analyst, whatever, they would hire him. They wouldn't let it marinate for this long. So I don't think they're going to. Now, if Saban hires him tomorrow, I look like an idiot, fine. I've looked like an idiot before. But I don't think you let the rumors get out. I don't think you let it grow and marinate and get to this level without just going ahead and doing it. Maryland is a dumpster fire. That's correct.
False.
Maybe another day, Bonnie. Dolphins still haven't found an answer from Marino. Can't believe they passed on Dak. I love the Dolphins, but don't understand their decisions. Mac McBrayer. What do you want from me? Oh, Landshark's got her tick going on.
Home run.
Huh? Somebody's hit a home run in there. Who do you think is going to win the East next year? Good question. We'll end on this. Jeremiah Body says, who do you think will win the East?
Georgia.
I don't know.
Who's going to beat them? South Carolina?
There's not any good teams in the East, and Georgia won't be very good.
They'll be better than anyone else in the
Georgia's probably going to be better than everybody else because he has recruited at a high level, but I don't think people are really I think people are underestimating what they lose. They lose their 7 or 8 best defensive players.
I mean, they won't be as good as they were this year.
They won't be even
They'll
close.
But who's in the East to everyone in the
That's
East
the
is
problem.
terrible.
That's the problem. Georgia should not be repeat division champs because of what they're not good enough to win it again. But the division's so bad they're going to win it again.
They're going to
probably.
win again. But they're not going to.
But they do have to go to South Carolina.
Yep.
And South Carolina is the only other team that has a chance. Even though I don't think South Carolina is good either. I think they're terrible also.
Florida might.
So probably no.
Florida.
No.
I think Florida might.
Oh God, no. No. I've seen
Got a
that.
pretty good coach down there.
They got a pretty good coach, but they're going to go 8-4. I've seen this movie before. It could be Florida. I mean,
I'm not saying it's going to be, but they have a good chance.
I mean, they're going to finish top 3.
It's going to be, it's going to be between them 3.
Georgia, Carolina, and Florida are going to be top 3 in some order. And Georgia, I think, is about to get on a run where they win it every year. They're about to be that good. But this year,
have a slump year next year.
this is going to be their building year.
Yeah.
They're gonna take a step back and then take a big step forward.
Yep.
But this year they're not going to be very good. Like Georgia, if Mississippi State played Georgia in 2018, State would win by 21 points.
Nah, I don't know.
Beat the hell out of them.
Win, maybe.
Beat the hell out of them.
Crush 'em.
If they had to come to Starkville this year, State would beat the hell out of Georgia. And not that I have great respect for Georgia, but they're losing every defensive player that they have that's any good. How do you can't replace that? A guy can have 9 stars as a freshman, but he's still a freshman. Something. I don't know. I hope Georgia dominates the East as long as Mullen is at Florida. It would be funny. And again, Land Shark, I'm about to wrap up. But Mullen built great things at Mississippi State, did well, but he never climbed the Alabama mountain. It would be funny if when he finally left, all he did was change mountains. All he did was go over there and start getting beat by Georgia every year. That would be entertaining to me. I would find that funny. I would find a pleasure in that. Now, that's about it. Land Shark has completely moved on, and she got a voodoo doll of me over there, and she's poking holes in it. It's because she wants to go to lunch. When she gets hungry, she's not herself when she's hungry. So until next time, my name is Brandon Walker, and you've been watching More Cowbell, a Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country.